Hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks, when Todd talks, people listen, because at this point, why not? Hopefully. Okay, today we're having one of the two closeout episodes of my season of Todd Talk, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Death Battle season recap. Yeah, and no, that wasn't my boomstick impersonation. I've already told you I can't do a boomstick impersonation. Them's the breaks. So today I am going to reveal my official win-loss record for Death Battle Season 9 and let you know the top 5 Death Battle episodes in my opinion. I am looking down because I realized I didn't write it down. So I know what it is. I've already gone through it. Now this season was very interesting because we just came off of the 10th anniversary special, right? So I mean the 10th anniversary season, and that was a full of interesting matchups. And then this season they promised a lot of things, but the biggest one was that they promised that they would bring a lot of new franchises to the mix, and they did. They absolutely did, including some that none of us saw coming, like with Akira or SpongeBob. I mean, we've always joked about SpongeBob being in Death Battle, but it never was supposed to happen, and then they found a way to make it work. So, them's just the breaks. But it's always fascinating to think about, hey, here's the ones that are, gonna these are the ones that made it in, and it's just like, this is so awesome. So even though this isn't my favorite Death Battle season, I'm just gonna say that up front. It was a very fun season. It was interesting to see how much they've expanded over these 10 plus years to where they can go, oh yeah, we can totally do an Akira episode. Hey, let's finally do SpongeBob. Let's finally bring this character or that character. It's gonna be great. So and most times than not, it's gonna be great. But I'm going to break down every episode loosely just to recap my thoughts and reveal whether I won or lost that one. And especially now that I have the benefit of hindsight of looking at it across the whole season and whether it stood out or not. And then I'll give my win-loss record and my top 5 for Death Battle Season 9. You ready? Okay. The season started off with Harley Quinn versus Jinx from League of Legends. And I was interested in this one because I'm a Harley Quinn fan. The animated series is absolutely bonkers. It's great. I'm not gonna lie, I actually think that many of the 3D fights kind of suffered this year. I don't know why. It's just they didn't feel as, this is just my opinion, of course. It just didn't feel as grand or special at times. Jinx Harley was fine, but especially the ending where they basically replicated Joker's Sweet Tooth, I didn't feel they needed to do that, and I was really mad that Harley lost. But I mean, I understood why. I didn't go deep enough into League of Legends, a recurring trend that I guarantee you will continue to happen. But it was a fine episode, but it didn't really wow me like certain season openers did. But it was fine. I'll probably give like a 7 out of 10. But sadly, I picked Harley, so that's my first loss of the season. The second one, okay, this is easily one of the ones that really upset a lot of people. Wanda, Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna. Some people didn't like it that they had basically a couple comic characters back to back, which I can understand. But the reason everyone was mad about this was that just about everyone picked Scarlet Witch to win because it's the Scarlet Witch. It's no more mutants and Multiverse of Madness, bad movie, and everything. Most of the G1 blog, G1 blog had a lot of losses this year. This was their big one. It was because everyone was like, oh yes, Wanda's gonna win. No. And I fell for it. I would have picked Zatanna by default because I love the character more, but I was just like, you know what, everyone's picking Wanda, so they must know something I didn't. And I was wrong! I lost again. I started out this season with an 0-2 record, one because of lack of research, and the second one was because I followed you people. Now, the episode was fun. I like how they handle both Wanda and Zatanna's magics. The ending with No More Witches was a really cool one. The song was really great. I like the references. I don't think this could have been better. I don't think this magical battles are hard to do in 3D because of particle effects, so this was necessary to be in 2D. And there were some spots where it was just like, Yeah, you can kind of tell, they were stretching the animation, but overall it was a fun fight despite my loss. And I was happy. This was one of the few fights where I was okay with losing because I thought the better character won. All right, like better character overall won, because I really think Zatanna is better than Wanda. Sorry, not sorry, Reese's. All right, okay, now let's get into the winning ways. All right, let's get into the winning ways with Tanjiro versus Jonathan Joestar. Uh, this, as you all know, is one of my favorites of the season. So I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's in my top 5. But where in my top 5? This was for me a perfect example of what Death Battle is. And what I mean by that is you can go into these battles without any knowledge of the characters, or like in-depth knowledge of the characters, their animes, their source material, or whatever, and you still get enjoyment out of it. And that was me. I mean, I knew about Demon Slayer. Like, everyone's talking about it online, especially when season 1 and 2 hit, and Mugen Train blew up the box office. And I knew about JoJo because of the anime, but I never watched any of them. And so when this episode came out, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, I get it. I had heard this one, on the comments and the request threads and all that. But then they delivered, like, one of the best death battles of the season by far. Again, it's in my top 5. And I was crying at the end. Like, if you recall, I was crying at the end because that emotional ending, which you would not expect from a death battle, was just like, oh, it was so good. Like, the 2D battles don't always get the credit they deserve unless it's a really standout episode, and this is a perfect example of a standout episode. All right, so props to you guys for making me care, and I will eventually watch Demon Slayer. Not sure about JoJo, but I'm very bizarre. Okay. Uh, all right, but I picked Tanjiro, so that was my first win of the season. Next up, Thor Vegeta. Okay, this one was another great example of the 2D fight shining. Now, there were some spots in the fight I would have changed personally, but that's just me. But Princes of Pride was a banger track by Brandon Yates. He totally delivered on that one, and even though it was kind of obvious that Thor would win, even though they didn't give him the Thor Force, the Odin Force, I really thought they would have, but they didn't. But whatever. They made you believe. They made you understand. And I love that they were, because of the timing, they were able to bring in Ultra Ego, even though we don't fully understand it yet, but they made it clear that it wouldn't matter how powerful Ultra Ego is, because Thor is just that more powerful. But, sometimes you need to do the matchups that people want, even if it's a little bit of a stomp. And they made it clear it's not as bad of a stomp, but it's still pretty much a stomp. So I picked Thor. That was a win. Speaking of stomps, let's talk Omni-Man versus Homelander. This is, and I'm pretty sure this is going to stand for a while, it's the most watched episode of the season. It's one of the most watched episodes of recent seasons. I have to compare it to other seasons, but it's easily one of the most watched death battles in recent years, period. And this was before and after the drop-off, like, when things kind of curbed, I guess you could say, because of the YouTube algorithms. But because of the popularity of Invincible and The Boys, thanks to Amazon Prime, everyone was watching this. The official Twitter handles and social media of The Boys and Invincible were, sorry, my hair is kind of sticking up on end. Were sharing this around, and that helped to get millions in like no time flat. And when you're a YouTube show, I don't care how long you've been around, you want that. Like, if you can get help from official sources to spread the word, kind of like when they had Butch Hartman on for Danny Phantom, Jake Long, like, to help spread the word, that helps, and that was really awesome. This is easily one of the biggest stomps in death battle history, but as Liam noted, it's about catharsis. We want to see Homelander die a painful death, far beyond what he had in the comics, because the comics, I won't get into it, but the way he died in the comics was almost kind of basic versus here, which was cathartic. It was very cathartic. Now, yes, it's also one of the shortest death battles, but it's also hand-drawn, and I appreciated how they handled it, the mixing of the styles, and the voice acting was very on point, and of course, Merry Christmas. Yeah. They had some fun moments. I wish it was longer. I did. It was actually supposed to be longer if you watch the storyboards, but it did its job, and it was a fun episode, and it got millions and millions of views, which obviously helps death battles, so let's all be grateful. I picked Omni-Man, obviously, so that's a win. Next one. Okay, this was a curious one. Magneto versus Tetsuo. This is another one where it's like, you didn't really know if this matchup would happen because of what Akira is, both a manga and a movie. with parallel stories or sorry, diverging stories and timelines and all that. But this one was fine. This was another one where you either liked it or you didn't. Ego Death was a nice song. I thought they did really well on handling, Tetsuo's transformations and abilities and Magneto's just overwhelming magnetism powers. But, you kind of knew. You kind of knew that even with Tetsuo, with the potential universe birthing powers, which were, very vague in both source materials, um, it wouldn't matter against Magneto, which is why I picked Magneto, and then what? All right, this next one is easily one of the biggest surprises of the entire season. The one I would bet you any amount of money no one ever thought that this would happen. We got Hercules versus Sun Wukong. I loved this episode. This was great because I love mythology. I love talking mythology. I love reading about mythology. I love learning about the ancient cultures of our world and the gods and entities that they believed in. And since they focused specifically on the official writings in Greek and Chinese mythologies and only used the visuals from like the games and whatnot as a visual reference and not a canonical reference. It was very cool, and then the fight was just fun. I mean, the using the scroll to lay out the battle, and then using like the constellations at the end. The having the narrator make it sound like this wasn't like an actual epic happening before our eyes, which it kind of was. It was really cool. I love this fight. This barely this barely missed out of my top five. I'm sorry. If there was an honorable mention this season, it'd be Herc versus Sun Wukong, because it was so unique. It was so unique compared to like even with a certain other death battle coming up. This was just so unique. And now everyone's like, oh, let's do more mythological death battles. I'm like, yeah, yeah. Like the big one everyone's asking for is Thor versus Odin. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe we won't. We'll see. I mean, we've done Thor 1,000 times, so why not get his dad involved, right? All right, but I picked Sun Wukong. I got the win. All right, okay. Oh, gosh. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the good times stop, because I went on one of the worst losing streaks I've ever had in my career as a reviewer, predictor of Death Battle. And it all started with Boba Fett versus Predator. This was another fight where it was unique because it's the Predator versus a Star Wars character, and because the Predator in the movies don't really get that deep backstory, you had to look into like the books and the comics and the games to get the full history, and the ability of Yautja, or however you say their names. It was cool, and the fight. I felt could have been better. Like there was things going wrong. I felt with the Predator model, especially certain camera angles. Like you all know the shots where it looked like it had a really small face, and the ending I felt. I don't know. It felt a little lackluster to me, and I'm not just saying that because the Predator lost, but yeah, I lost. I picked the Predator. I really thought he could handle Boba Fett. Apparently, I was wrong. So, whatever. But yeah, that was an L, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, I had a good winning streak. I had a 5-round winning streak, so that's not bad. But that, like I said, the good time stopped there. The bonus episode, I didn't review this one because I had no idea what Warframe. Okay, I knew Warframe, but I've never played it. I've never read into it, and I only knew it loosely because I have one of my other jobs. So I didn't review it, and so that's an abstention. That doesn't count. I liked it. It was a fun episode. I liked learning about the Warframes. I don't know what I would have found in my research, but I might have accidentally picked Raiden because of my knowledge of him more than Excalibur. Thankfully, I didn't have to deal with that, and thus it was an abstention. I didn't lose. The fight was fun. Not as good as Raiden Wolverine, but that's just preference. All right, now it's time for my most controversial death battle of the season. My most controversial death battle of the season. So controversial was my thoughts on this episode that it is my only episode, ladies and gentlemen, of this season of Todd Talk that had a below 50% acceptance rate by you all. I guess you didn't like that I thought John Wick could still beat James Bond. Yes. I'm still bitter about this fight. I really am. I don't like being that guy. I just felt that there were some things I felt they mishandled personally. And as a fan, I've watched. I'm pretty sure I've watched every James Bond film except for On His Majesty's Secret Service. Oh, and No Time to Die. I haven't seen that one yet, but and I corrected some mistakes I had. I didn't believe that Bond had bulletproof suits, and apparently he got one in No Time to Die. So I apologize for that. Um, I just felt that because they're like, oh, Wick wouldn't handle his gadgets. Why would he care? Why would he care about the gadgets? He knows he's in a fight. He's not looking about, oh, like, oh, what I'm going to do with this gadget. I'm here to kill you. So the fight was fine. I mean, okay, it had some wonky animation. Like I said, the 3D fights in this season, I felt at times didn't live up to the potential that they could have. This was another one, like the models felt off at times. Like if you remember the scene where James had like that monster hand, he's adjusting his tie. Um, I can understand at points why James would win, but other points, especially during the fight, which I know, yes, the animation is not the only representation of how the fight could go. I just felt that they misrepresented John in some ways, and as a really big fan of John Wick, you would want your favorite character to be, represented well, and I just didn't think they did that here. He wouldn't care about why MI6 is trying to kill him. He's like, you're trying to kill me. I'm going to shoot you in the head. He wouldn't wait for James to light up the cigarette. Anyway, but yes, I picked John Wick. I lost. Whatever. This next one hurt just as much. It was Black Adam versus Apocalypse. This was perfect because of the movie had just come out, or was really close to coming out, and The Rock just can't get a win. He lost his Hercules. Remember the thumbnail? He lost his Black Adam, and now Black Adam might not be coming back in the DC Comics movie universe because of the shuffling with James Gunn. I'm fine with it. No, sorry. I'm fine with James Gunn taking over. I'm going to give him the chance to make his movies and shows and whatever. I will give him the chance. So even though I am a well-known Snyder fan, I am willing to give James Gunn and Peter Safran a shot. Okay, so let me make that clear. But Black Adam Apocalypse, this was another one where it was really good animation. I liked how they handled certain things. I wasn't expecting them to bring certain elements into the death battle, like the Sinestro ring. And man, that death was brutal. just like wrecking his head and then cracking the camera. That was really clever. But yeah, I picked Black Adam, so that was a loss. Trunks Silver. This was another one that could have easily gotten on my top 5 if it hadn't been for other ones. The animation was totally on point. I love them doing the traveling to different dimensions and the infinite time labyrinth, I believe it was called. That was a nice shot, and the finale. I told you it's no use. That was really cool. It was fun looking up Dragon Ball Heroes, which, as you know, would affect things later on. And Archie Sonic, which again I did not do enough, or I guess I didn't expand enough on certain elements, like the Super Genesis wave, which it's just a stupid name. I'm sorry, it really is. But yeah, I didn't understand, I guess, fully the implications of Supersonic and Super Mega Man doing what they did, which obviously affect Archie Silver. So yeah, I picked Trunks. I lost. I had a 4-match losing streak, ladies and gentlemen. It was not fun. It was not fun at all. But I rebounded because the next episode was SpongeBob versus Aquaman. Super Friends Aquaman, to be clear. Yeah, this was a fight that no one knew we needed, and then we needed it. I am in debt to this episode. I had a terrible weekend leading up to that episode. I was in a bad place, and this episode made me laugh. It made me cry tears of joy, and it was just so bonkers. And the way they played the episode with like not understanding the power of SpongeBob at first, and then at the end it was like, this is the greatest speed feat in the history of our show, and it belongs to SpongeBob SquarePants. It was great. I loved it. But I'm not a SpongeBob fan. I've watched a few episodes. I think it's a stupid show, and even they admitted that it's lasted way too long. So, yeah. But fun episode, great animation, hilarious use of voice acting. We got SpongeBob in Death Battle. What are you gonna do? All right, next up, Jason Voorhees versus Michael Myers. I'm pretty sure most of our thoughts are consistent on this one. Not the best episode. I love the Halloween aesthetic of having the entire crew together at Camp Crystal Lake, apparently, and calling the haunted tales of Jason versus Michael. The problem was the death battle. It really was. I'm sorry, but it was it was jilted. It didn't really have a good flow, and it was more focused on killing all the teenagers versus killing Jason and Michael, or Jason or Michael, I should say. And I know a lot of you felt that way because there were times when those two were fighting and they panned the camera away so that they could focus on the teenagers, and then all of a sudden Jason or Michael would come out and stab them. I'm like, this isn't about that. If we wanted to see them kill teenagers, we'd have them go watch their movies. All right. Um, and then that final shot of just Jason slowly walking away. That was what, like 10, 15 seconds? And that could have easily been 10, 15 seconds of fighting, which, as we all know, can be the difference in a death battle between quality. So I don't know. It's a thing. I picked Jason, just like I picked SpongeBob, so that's a win, 2 in a row. The next one was we got 2 back-to-back death battles, or 3D death battles, which was great. And it was Sauron and Lich King, and this one lived up to the hype. All right, we got World of Warcraft and Lord of the Rings for the first time. It was a lot of fun. The visual effects were stunning. The nice use of voice acting. Using the different forms of Sauron as well as the different Lich King abilities was great touch. And this one just, it felt like it delivered. Like it had to deliver. And they went deep into the Warcraft and World of Warcraft lore and the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, and Lord of the Rings. And they even addressed how in the later Death Battle cast, like Sauron actually doesn't show up in the trilogy, but they made sure that the ones who watched the movies who got to see the Eye of Sauron and had that imprinted in their mind, like that made an appearance. Like they cared. They really want to make sure that the details and the lore and the history was fully understood so that they could appreciate this death battle, and we absolutely did. Definitely a standout of the season. Wink. Next up, Deku versus Asta. Oh man, I got into My Hero Academia late. I write a fan fiction, an OC fan fiction. Okay, watch it. I have my own class and storyline and everything. But I write My Hero Academia fan fiction. It's a lot of fun. I have heard of Black Clover, but I never really knew about it. So this is another one where I came in and was like, yeah, this is going to be interesting, just to see what it's like. It was fine, but this was one of the ones where you watch and you go, does something just feel off? Does something just feel off about the death battle? And again, I don't like bashing the animation because I know Luis and his team put so much effort into these, and they do. But the Detroit Smash segment, despite that hilarious line at the end, "Take that, Detroit," it just didn't feel epic. It didn't feel like the grand scale of things. Like they focused too much on that ricochet attack. I'm like, Deku wouldn't. I don't think Deku would do that personally, and Asta just letting himself getting hit by that multiple times just felt off, and it just didn't feel like it had that grand. This is epic anime protagonists, right? Going at it, and it didn't feel epic until the end when Asta went full devil mode and Deku did the callback to All Might. You want my best? Well, here it is. That moment was great, and I'll admit the death was spectacular. Just the swords just going. That was great stuff, but overall the fight just didn't feel as grand. But I picked Asta, and I got the win. I picked Sauron, and I got the win there too. So I got back on my win streak, which leads us to, of course, Gogeta versus Vegito. This was a fantastic death battle. I know some people are lukewarm on it for one reason or another. I adored it. I big Dragon Ball fan here. It's one of the animes that got me into anime in general. I love the appreciation of not just the franchise in this episode, but that they wanted to make sure that there were as little doubts, because there's always going to be doubt, as little doubt as possible that they got it wrong. So that's why they said, like, okay, we're not just doing the canon appearances, because that's all 3 and like less than 30 minutes if you combine it all. We're doing the TV shows, we're doing the movies, we're doing the non-canon stuff, we're doing the books, we're doing the Daizenshus, the video games, all of it. Everything was accounted for here. And it showed. And then when you got to the battle, Dragon Dance I listened to yesterday. It was really fun. Thank you, Brandon. But the animation was so crisp, using the Dragon Balls to make the wish. Eternal Shenron, hear my wish. It's time for death battle. Your wish has been granted. That was so much fun. I'm smiling, and then when you watch the fight, and they form up, and they slowly start transforming. We even got Super Saiyan 4 for a little bit. That was a lot of fun. Going to crap, I saw some Dragon Way, the Riding Dragon Road, and them actually flying around Shenron at one point, going into the time chamber, before finally ending with, as I broke down before, the Dragon Fist from episode 1 with Goku, and then the Kamehameha with episode 2 of Goku, and Goku finally getting a win and a loss. It was epic, and I loved it, and they had so much fun. They clearly had so much fun with this episode that it showed. So thank you for that great season finale. Go watch it if you haven't watched it yet, because for whatever reason it's not climbing as much as I thought it would. But there's still time. It's only been a week, and I'm glad that they did the delay to make sure the effects were great, because they put a lot into it, clearly. And if you haven't watched the commentary, they talk about all the effects that went into it. It's a lot. They do a lot of work on these. So even if you don't appreciate a death battle for one reason or another, and I've already mentioned some of mine this season, do show appreciation to the animation team. They really worked hard on these, even if it didn't turn out the way that you or I wanted. So, with that, let us now count down the top five Death Battle Season 9 episodes. Number 5, SpongeBob Aquaman. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that SpongeBob would make it into the top 5 episodes of Death Battle for this season for me, I would have called you a liar, amongst many, many other things. But this episode just had the right style, charm, comedy, and the animation was great. I mean, Aquaman had a breakdown on camera. It was like, I would choke. I'm worthless, and then SpongeBob comforting him, and then that actually really epic shot at the end where he's like summoning the water of the earth and trying to punch SpongeBob, who's ready, and then don't cry, Sponge, let's be super friends, like that. That's just great stuff. Okay, I'm sorry, that's great stuff. So that's number 5. Number 4, Sauron Lich King. This was easily the top 2 of death battle, 3D death battles this season. It wasn't even close. I'm sorry, but it was just so good. The way they handled Sauron, the Lich King, the setting, the music, the way they showed the different powers and transformations. It totally rocked, and it just felt like epic boss fight. There is no life in the void, only death. That was great stuff. I love it. Again, when you resonate with the death battle, you know it. All right, number 3. This is the one that climbed the most this season. Like I've watched this one so many times. After I was a little lukewarm on it at first. I think it was like, okay, no, that was a solid death battle. But the more I watched it, the more I really dove into it, especially the death battle. I loved it, and it's just so epic. It's Thor versus Vegeta. Yeah, the Princess of Pride song is epic beyond words, and that's why Brandon referenced it in Gogeta Vegito. But this was just so much fun, and I maintain, I don't know if I said this in my reaction video because of timing, I can't remember when it came out, but the 3 minutes that we saw Thor in this death battle, how he acted in battle and with Vegeta, those 3 minutes were more accurate in terms of who Thor is than the entire Thor Love and Thunder movie. Boom. Yeah, I said it. But yeah, the animation was fun. The voice acting was totally epic. This will be one of my favorites. It doesn't crack my top 10 death battles. Nothing, I'm sorry to say, but nothing in season 9 cracks my top 10, if you remember that list. I'll drop a link if you want to see it. But this would be one where I'll be like, that's kind of close. Like that's like honorable mention territory, because it's that good. All right, it's that good. Okay, next up, number 2. Gogeta Vegito. That's right. The season finale is at number 2. Yeah. And for the record, I probably would have put Popeye versus Saitama higher on last year's list, but that was another one where I had to watch it a bunch of times, right? So I've had a week and a couple watches to appreciate this one more. It's a lot of fun. again, they put so much passion into this, the reverence for the Dragon Ball franchise, going to all the different locations. Kami's house, I know I forgot one. Uh, Not Kami's house. Roshi's house. Sorry, Roshi's house. But it was epic. It was everything that Dragon Ball fans should want, even if your fusion lost. So I hope you appreciated it. And number one is, if not obvious from before, it is Tanjiro versus Jonathan Joestar. I know. I'm pretty sure this is the first time a 2D death battle was the top pick of my seasons. I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure. Because usually the 3D ones just like sometimes blow them out of the water, but this one was special. I loved the visual style. I love the use of like the anime visuals when they did Tanjiro's breathing or his water style and fire style, and the ending. Oh my gosh, that ending. On my honor as a gentleman, I will protect her with my life. And then the hand thing right at the end, that was, oh my gosh, I'm crying. Holy crap, I'm crying. Hold me, bro. It was great. It was great. It's my number one. Luis, you and your team absolutely killed it on that one. Everything just shined. I know some people are a little weird on it, but I'm like, no, this is perfect. This is another one I'll be totally honorable mention for my Death Battle top 10 list. But you guys killed it, Luis. You absolutely killed it. And I thank you. And I thank everyone on Death Battle, for the writers, the editors, the researchers, of course, Ben and Chad, and everyone, Liam, Aaron, Billy, all of you who helped out with Death Battle Season 9 and made it what it was. It was a fun season. Even with my personal feelings about Bond versus Wick and certain other episodes, I did enjoy it. Death Battle is a highlight of my life. It really, really is. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing Season 10 with you. But we are not done just yet, because next week I am going to be doing my Season 10 predictions episode, which I have a horrible record with. I think I've gotten one, not like non already teased episodes. I think I've gotten one, and that was Black Adam versus Apocalypse, I think. But this is your chance to tell me what matchups that you want to see. I've already gotten some requests from you, and so I will make that next week. So some of my ideas, I'm going to pick a lot from the ballot, because now that we know who the winners are, because there are some that I honestly think would be really, really cool to see in the future. And remember, they already said that, and when I say the ballot, I mean like all the ballot, like all the thousands of requests we all did, because they said that some of the episodes or some of the suggestions wouldn't be on the final ballot because they were already being made, potentially. So why not? So if you have an idea for what you would like to see for Death Battle Season 10, drop it in the comments below, and if I like it, I'll mention it next week alongside some of my own. I've got some suggestions that might surprise you, including one that is a very bitter pill for me to swallow, so there's a little teaser for next time. But and of course, let me know what you thought on Death Battle Season 9. What was your favorite episode? What was your least favorite episode? What was your favorite fight overall? And even the battle tracks. What were some of your favorite tracks? Let me know in the comments below. So I thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.